everyone, it's Mary Shea with Forrester. I'm so pleased to be here today to share some of my recent research on social selling with all of you. And it's pretty exciting to see such a diverse audience that we have. It looks like we have folks from Berlin, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, India. So thank you everyone for dialing in at all different hours of the day. So with that, let's move forward with the focus of today's discussion. I know most of you are quite familiar with Forrester, so I won't spend too much time going over our business model, but you know we work with businesses and technology leaders to help them develop customer-obsessed growth strategies. So if you think about the digital-first environment that we're in, the salesperson, the B2B seller, is no longer the sole purveyor of information. And buyers have many more choices around how, when, where, and why they engage with vendors. Many of you who may have exposure to Forrester's research are familiar with this concept of the age of the customer. And you're probably familiar with your own experiences or your selling organization's experiences. Buyers, through online and mobile channels, can access information, providing them with pricing power, the ability to control when, where, and how they transact. And as these buyers become much more empowered in the marketplace, the pressure is really on for salespeople to raise their game and to meet buyers where they want to make their purchases and where they digitally reside. So as B2B sellers, as well as some of the marketing and sales leaders that are on the phone today, you know, our job is to start to think about ways and execute ways that we can equalize the balance of power, to rebalance this inequity that exists between the buyer-seller dynamic today. And that can be done a variety of different ways, whether that's through updating your enablement stack, through a great training and coaching program, and by effectively leveraging new channels for exchanging information and building and extending your relationships. And so I think that brings us to kind of the question and the crux of today's discussion, which is social selling. And why social selling and why now? I believe, and my research shows, that we're on the cusp of really having social as a key channel for marketing and sales distribution, not just today, but also into the future. So if you think about how email really changed how we market and sell now at the beginning of the 2000s, I think that's where we are with regard to social and social selling. And so I'm sure some of you have seen some of these stats that I'll share with you just briefly here, but the point is that it's becoming more and more difficult for B2B salespeople to gain and sustain access to their buyers, to get their attention. You know, in the past, I think it was about a volume of activities, and now, whether it's through account-based marketing, personalization, the focus is really on narrowing your intention and having a much more personalized interaction. But thinking about what your sellers are facing, if they don't provide a different way of engaging with their buyers and customers, they're going to be really, really challenged. So look at this here, you know, 92% of B2B purchases start with search. And executives, 90% of them say they aren't even going to take a call from a salesperson that they don't know. So we're seeing that buyers are becoming more and more self-directed. They want to have access to tools that can enable them to really evaluate new products and services that they want to bring to their companies. And so if you think about this from a channel perspective, traditional channels that have been the mainstay of sales activities, phone, email, and face-to-face, are really actually quite fatigued at this point. And so, you know, that kind of brings us back to the question, why social and why now? I did some recent research at the beginning of 2017 and interviewed sales and marketing leaders within the B2B world and asked them, what are some of the challenges that their sellers are facing? And you can see the challenges, some of them are existing challenges and some of them are somewhat new. You know, you're seeing more and more stakeholders involved in the decision-making process. So in the past, you know, you might have a coach, an influencer, and a decider, or someone who executed a contract. Well, today with the millennial buyers, you're seeing many, many more consensus sales approaches. You're seeing that it takes longer to get to decisions. And you're seeing that buyers are, in some cases, wanting to meet in person less and less. Some of you may be seeing this and feeling this already. I talked about millennials as involved in the purchase process. And, we're seeing research shows that millennials are increasingly involved in making purchase decisions for their firms. And when you think about millennials' behavior, 85% of millennials are on social networking sites, and 23% spend time on social more than 3 hours a day. And that could be, including LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or others for business purposes, as well as for engaging in activities and sharing what's going on with personal networks. So with a variety of these dynamics, the changing ways that buyers want to access information about products and services that they bring to their firm, the increasing self-directed approach that they take, with millennials who are now going to be 50% of the global workforce by 2020, I actually believe that 2017 is the year of social selling. We're already well into that year as we edge up to July. But one of the things I think we're going to find, and you'll all be able to find, is that the metrics and visibility into the impact that social is having on the marketing and sales process are going to start to become much clearer than they have been in the past. And I think that will accelerate adoption and understanding that social is a viable and vibrant channel that needs to be used across the entire buying cycle. But you can see here, while marketers haven't really fleshed out, at least in the research, around how to leverage social as effectively as possible deeper into the buying cycle, they're rating social as a key channel for demand gen techniques. We're already seeing that social sellers are dramatically outperforming their peers. And you can see this quote here from one of the customers that we work with, Daniel Hall at Genesis, that social is going to be ubiquitous in terms of a nice-to-have channel for sellers. We're seeing that reps who embrace social have an 18% greater lead volume and 17% more lead conversion than those that don't. And so the key here is not just having a couple of ideas to LinkedIn or other social engagement platforms, but having the enablement tools that you need, having the training, and also as a rep, embracing social into your daily cadence. It doesn't take more than 15 minutes or so with a great platform to go through all of your critical activities. And so reps who are just including social in their day-to-day activities and not as sort of a subcategory of that of behavior activities that they need to do are seeing lots and lots of success. So want to shift here again back to the research survey that I did at the beginning of this year. And one of the things we wanted to do was identify how many organizations in the B2B world have a formal social selling program in place. And by formal, we really define that as, having a platform, having governance and policies, and almost most importantly, having ongoing training that sellers can access. And you can see here, while everyone sort of thinks they're doing social, only about 31% of firms have, sorry, you can't see the data points there, but formally embraced a social selling program. And hopefully we'll see much more of that as we move forward in the future. So we've covered some contextual information in terms of why social is going to be such a relevant channel for B2B sellers in the future. We're seeing some great results in terms of metrics on the marketing and sales side. And now, how do you go about linking, launching, and sustaining a more formal program? Well, to start out, most companies have actually started with sort of the brand building, which we call, social marketing at a corporate level. But it's important as you think about your social strategy to think about the 5 different ways that your company is going to be using social and to integrate and have a holistic approach, both from a technology, from a content and brand standpoint, and from an engagement perspective. So, today companies are primarily focused on sort of the brand building piece from creating brand awareness at the corporate level. We also see a number of firms who have moved into advocacy, whether that's enabling their entire employee base or a portion of their employee base to become advocates on behalf of their company, whether that's to help with recruiting or brand building or sharing of general information. And then another subset of advocacy is what you see really in terms of the customer advocacy, where there are platforms that are out there that can help your customers communicate and have a community where they can talk about some of the challenges, opportunities, and share great use cases around working with your organization's products and services. And then finally, you've got social selling. And so the important part is to have alignment across, marketing, technology, HR, and sales executives, and to be able to have a tightly constructed strategy that deals with all aspects and all capabilities that social networks provide. So shifting back to social selling, which is really the key focus of today's discussion, one of the things that I find frustrating in the work that I do with our clients and the advice that I provide on an ongoing basis is that many folks expect to get great results from social without actually putting in the time, effort, and economic resources around social from a programmatic standpoint. So social selling is just like any other strategic business initiative that you have. So with that, this is sort of my 10 commandments or my edict for how you want to think about it, which is, you've got to have executive sponsorship, probably at a minimum on the marketing and sales side of your business. You've got to be able to have metrics and to communicate progress and milestones against those metrics. And then you need to have comprehensive and ongoing training. Training is something that is not a one and done type of situation, but something that you need to use to kick off the program and then to continue to reinforce and go deeper as your sellers get more and more sophisticated. In some recent custom research that I did for a client of ours, we found in the research that sellers are really asking for more and more training and that they don't have confidence in using social across the entire range of the buyer cycle. And one of the areas where we see a lot more opportunity is later in the cycle when a selling opportunity has gone quiet. You have the ability to reach out, to provide thought leadership, to extend your stakeholder engagement, to go upstream. Another area where we've seen limited engagement and confidence from social sellers is really on the research and listening side, where you can learn a lot about your customers and go back to them as a consultant and provide insights around what their customers are saying about their business. So there's a lot more that can be done than I think is currently being done today. So if you're a business leader on the sales and marketing side or HR side, or if you're a seller on today's call, thinking about where you want to reside as a social seller is really important. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And so I created this graphic to help sales and marketers understand how to best support the different sellers within the organization. And you need to think about these sellers very similarly to how you think about your customers. Not every customer is the same. And so I won't go through all of these, but you have, your celebrity, you've got your social novices, you've got your non-participants, you've got an expert. And, you want to really figure out where's your niche as a seller. It's not necessary for everyone to be a celebrity like a Jamie Shanks or Jill Rowley or like myself for that matter. Maybe you have the ability to do so, great. What we find is top sellers really kind of fall into the expert section. Most of these experts in many cases are very strong in terms of technology competence. Perhaps they're millennials. Maybe not as confident on sort of the art of the selling and deep sales and relationship building skills, but expert is where we find a lot of those types of sellers residing. And then the social novices where you might find the more tenured sales executives who may not be quite as confident on the technologies and some of the new techniques that can be used to be successful with social selling. So you've got an opportunity, if you're a business leader, to create some bilateral mentorship that could exist between your social novices and your experts. And then there's the non-participants. And I tell business leaders, if you've got non-participants who are crushing their quotas, maybe it's in more of a legacy industry, maybe it's financial services and they have their own book of business and they can hit their business goals without engaging in social, don't worry about it. And if someone is a non-participant and they can't hit their business goals, then that problem will get solved by a lack of attainment to quota over time. So this is just a graphic that is really kind of intended for marketing and sales leaders to help them understand how you would go about providing personalized support to the different types of sellers that you have across the organization. And just a way to really amplify that it isn't a one-size-fits-all type of approach. So once you've got your social selling, technologies in place, you've got the key goals of the initiatives identified, and your sellers have ongoing access to training, it's time for them to really start to increase their impact in the marketplace. And so I'll start out with a cautionary tale, and maybe some of you have heard this. It went viral several months ago, or actually I think it might have been at the end of last year, where a seller pitched Amazon's CTO on cloud-based services. Clearly a breach in etiquette. Well, this CTO actually shared this mistake virally and across all kinds of networks and publications and caused a great deal of embarrassment for your social sellers. So, the message here is do your research. There's lots of apps that you can use as a bolt-on to your CRM that integrate as well with social engagement platforms. This one here is Charlie app, which enables your reps to do research in advance of any kind of an outreach. And what may have taken 10 minutes in the past to go to a variety of different disparate websites, you can have customized and served up at the contact and account level through Charlie app, which I think is really fantastic. It creates efficiencies and helps to continue to drive rep engagement upstream with their customers and prospects. This is a quick screenshot of Crystal Knows. Maybe some of you have used it. And Crystal Knows actually scrapes the web and provides personality profiling of your contacts. And this is actually just one of me, which was incredibly accurate. In addition to providing the personality profile, they serve up potential emails that are going to relate to the way the contact wants to consume information. And then for those of you that use LinkedIn's Navigator, they purchased Point Drive, a Chicago-based company, several months ago. And this packages up your information in a brand consistent way and, again, increases a higher quality experience for the buyer. So there's a variety of different types of tools and technologies that can help you even get more value as an add-on to your social selling stack and to your sales enablement stack. And I think, finally just want to leave everybody with the concept that, at the end of the day, social selling is really just about relationships and using a new channel to have more meaningful conversations, to provide a digital handshake or to do a digital good deed on a daily basis. You're going to hear a lot about bots, the role of automation, various different types of tools and what that means for the B2B seller. But the reality is that people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And the best thing you can do is to meet your prospective customers and prospects where they want to engage, to have personalized and high quality and meaningful interactions. And as a reminder, remember that with a new channel, you want to engage in channel appropriate etiquette. So don't start to push traditional sales and marketing techniques or messaging through that channel. Follow the 80-20% rule, which means 80% of the time you're talking about and sharing others' information, and 20% you're sharing your own. So hopefully this session has been really helpful to all of you in the audience. I see a lot of activity on chat. Would love to respond to any questions. If you're interested in getting access to one of my reports, feel free to reach out to me on email or Twitter if you're not a Forrester client. And I'd love to have you contribute to some of my recent research. So if you're a sales or marketing leader, send me an email and I'll include you on some of my upcoming surveys, which I think will be launched in the next week or so. So thank you all for your time, and would love to field any questions if we have enough time to do so. Looks like we have about 10 more minutes. So let me scroll through, or send me a quick question if anyone wants to ask, or we can wrap up. Looks like we've got one here. Someone's making a comment that they found that veteran sales reps actually respond really well to social relative to millennials. And yeah, that's great to hear that feedback as well. It's great to see veteran sellers gain more confidence with social selling because they've got the intrinsic sales capabilities to enable them to be really, really successful in this channel. Did someone ask what was the tool that scraped contact information? I think I was looking at mentioned Charlie app and Crystal Knows as tools that can scrape a variety of different social data from the web, compile it and compress it into customized research or personalized personality profiles. So it looks like we don't have any other hot questions. If you've got any other questions that I haven't addressed, I'm very active on Twitter and LinkedIn. Please feel free to send the question there with a hashtag that relates to this event. I assume that the slides will be shared with everyone who's attended the call as well as the recording. And if anyone is interested in getting access to my research or participating in a research survey, please do send me an email or ping me on Twitter. So thanks everyone so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to communicating with you out in social networks and responding to any future questions you have around social. Take care.